The information for this video has been taken from the book entitled The Trinity is the Matrix, which is now available in either paperback or ebook at Amazon.com. Contrary to the traditional Christian belief, evolution is actually a biblical principle that was first recorded in the Genesis account of creation. Even today, most Christians are still not able to rightly discern this because our Christian dogma has so thickly clouded their minds from being able to perceive it. For those who are still watching, it is important to understand that Genesis clearly states that God created life twice upon the earth. And by life I mean living creatures, not plant life. The theory of evolution states that life began as single-celled organisms in the waters of planet Earth, which Charles Darwin referred to as warm little ponds. Similarly, Genesis 1:20 clearly states that on day 5 of creation, God commanded life to come from the waters. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." Notice, the theory of evolution and the day 5 biblical account of creation both agree that life on earth began in the waters. That is not a coincidence. Which leads me to ask, how did birds come from the waters if they did not evolve? Next, Genesis 1:24 through 26 clearly states that on day 6 of creation, God created life from the dust of the ground. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Having now understood that God created life twice upon the earth, let me ask, can you think of any historic parallels that would link day 5 of creation with types of life forms, and day 6 of creation with entirely different types of life forms? You should, because everyone knows that our prehistoric era of dinosaurs and Neanderthals existed with its own unique life forms. Science then reasoned that a massive meteor struck the Earth by which to end our prehistoric era, after which came our more civilized era of animal and insect kingdoms, as well as mankind, which exists as entirely different types of life forms than what our prehistoric era had. Which begs the question, why were our prehistoric life forms so much different than our current life forms of today? It's because God made life twice upon the earth. Our prehistoric era consisted of life forms that came from the waters on day 5. Our current era consists of life forms that came from the dust of the ground on day 6. Therein lies the reason as to why our prehistoric era was so much different than our current era of today, because those two eras were created separately from one another. Which now leads us to what God said to man in Genesis 1:28. "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." Notice the phrase, replenish the earth. Everyone knows that mankind has now replenished the earth from our prehistoric era that previously existed before us. This reasoning helps us to better understand that our traditional Christian belief that evolution and creation are diametrically opposed to one another is a lie. I say that because evolution and creation both occurred. On day 5 of creation, our prehistoric era life forms evolved from the waters exactly like the theory of evolution also states. On day 6 of creation, our current life forms were created from the dust of the ground, exactly like our biblical account of creation states, meaning that our concept of evolution is merely a form of Christian dogma that was passed down to us centuries ago from theologians who had lived during a time when mankind's knowledge was quite limited. Our biggest problem in all of this is that we have long failed to discern that the Bible clearly states God created life twice upon the earth. Again, first on day 5 from the waters, second on day 6 from the dust of the ground. Meaning that anthropology will never be able to discover the missing link between mankind and Neanderthal simply because mankind had been created separately from them, with the creation of Adam and Eve being, for lack of better wording, the missing link. Meaning evolutionists wrongly believe mankind evolved from apes and Neanderthals, having failed to consider that God created life twice upon the earth. Similarly, creationists wrongly believe evolution to be a lie of the devil meant to disprove the Bible, also having failed to consider that God created life twice upon the earth. Meaning that evolution and creation are not diametrically opposed to one another, but rather exist as two different days of creation, with evolutionists being wrong for failing to consider mankind being created separately on day 6, and creationists being wrong for failing to consider life evolving from the waters on day 5. However, it would be very wrong of me not to address this all-important question. If mankind did not evolve from apes and Neanderthals, then why does mankind share some 99% of its DNA with them? There are two main reasons for this. First, Genesis 2:7 states, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Meaning that the DNA of apes and Neanderthals was already present in the dust of the ground when mankind was created. Second, for a brief time, mankind bred with Neanderthals as well.